Hey cats, it's Ed Bud here. Today on the Shoe Files we're talking value. What makes a running shoe or a piece of kit that you might have bought have value to you? It's certainly a word that's on the tip of everybody's tongue right now with the current economic issues. Today I'm going to look at what makes a value purchase for my valued viewers. Thanks for joining me on the channel, people. It's always appreciated. Help the channel to continue to grow by hitting that subscribe button, but also clicking the bell for notifications of when we launch the new videos for you. Also, give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. Dipping into value today, what makes a value purchase for you? Is it simply low price, or can a much higher priced item actually deliver great value, depending on the quality and the performance? Maybe it's over time that you actually get the value from something. I've purchased many a running shoe over the last few years, and quite a lot of them I've managed to get some sort of discount on. I always look for a code or some sort of money off voucher, or wait till some sort of sale appears. I mean, the best I've ever found was a pair of the Reebok Float Ride Energy 2. These only cost me a grand total of 29 Earth credits. Yep, 29 Earth credits. I mean, that's a cheaper price than a takeaway or a double vinyl album, isn't it? It was a great shoe, and it got me into testing out lots of other Reebok models over the next few years. The majority of all Reebok's running shoes of note cost under 100 Earth credits, aside perhaps from the Reebok Float Ride Energy X. That's their part carbon plated shoe. Many of them are constantly discounted as well under their retail prices. The Energy 4, for example, was 75 Earth credits at retail, but you can often find it perhaps around 50 or even lower. That's not a bad price at all, especially when you consider the durability and the versatility of that shoe. Surely then we can classify all Reebok shoes as being pretty good in terms of value. Certainly the Energy series really hits the spot. It's so much cheaper than a lot of other daily running shoes out there. So yes, we'll give Reebok a good value for money certification. I think it's good value for my money, or at least everyone else's. What about some of the more expensive options from the swoosh and the three stripes? When it comes to ADIDAS, I've experienced some variable durability from their range of shoes. Some have been particularly good, others not so much. I hear from loads of viewers out there that get tons of miles out of the Ultra Boost series. Literally hundreds and hundreds of miles before the outsole tears up and wears down. Ultra Boost shoes, though, tend to be that little bit more expensive at retail. We normally see the Ultra Boost model, the kind of flagship one, that's around about 160 to 170 pounds on launch. That can go down to around 110, 120 mark, which still presents, I guess, some good value. I do believe that extra cost that's added on by the three stripes is due to the fact they licensed that technology from BASF. They created that material, which is then licensed out for use by ADIDAS, but that's another story. As I say, I've experienced some varied value in terms of ADIDAS models over the years. I mean, look at that AdiStar one I picked up earlier this year. That was just a bit of a mistake. A costly one too. There's other models where I've just torn through the upper very quickly. The Boston 9, for example. It was a great shoe underfoot, but the upper just started to disintegrate, even before 100 miles. The padding in the back section of the shoe there and the Achilles just wasn't up to it. Though there are still some other stars in the Adidas running shoe lineup that have actually given me great value. The original SL20 was a superb shoe. I picked that up for around about £60. Proved to be one of the most excellent, versatile daily options ever. Even good for some faster running as well. You could use it to race in without a problem. Add in the Adios 6 as well. I managed to pick that up on release for a discount too. 79 Earth credits, I think it was. A slight upgrade over the SL20, just a bit lighter, a little bit more nimble. That's one thing about Adidas models, certainly the upper ones at the moment. That Light Strike Pro material just gets better and better the more you use it. We all know that isn't the case for some other midsole foams out there. They seem to degrade as soon as you've taken them out of the box. This stuff just seems to have a little bit more about it. It's a little bit more durable. People seem to be getting additional miles and kilometers out of this stuff. I think due to that, you don't feel as bad using it on a sort of more daily basis. I think with Zoom X, you'd probably think twice about taking it out on a very, very wet, wintry run. With this stuff, it just seems impervious to all those sorts of conditions. So in terms of value for money, I think Adidas actually offers pretty good value. most of their lineup that I've tried at least, though I am seeing the prices slowly creeping up over the last year or so. Now, I do find it odd when somebody declares a product particularly expensive or insanely expensive, yet some people won't bat an eyelid about spending over £200 on a running shoe, perhaps a race shoe that they're going to leave in the box or maybe use once or twice before a key race. You know, I've got watches that cost about the same as a running shoe these days, and you're going to get years of use out of those. I'd suggest you're probably not going to get years of use out of a shoe. Certainly not some of those super shoes. They're just simply not designed for that. The VAPORFLY Next Percent 2 typically retails now for $230, yet Nike let some of them loose out of the warehouse like escaped stoats for about £100 recently. I mean, that does make you realise just how much markup there is on these running shoes. They are at retail pretty highly priced now. I've seen many people retire them around 200 odd miles as they've lost their pop, or they just don't have the magic anymore. I don't think anyone's going to want to divide the miles by the amount of cost that they've paid for these shoes. I think if we want to try and think of them as value models, we probably shouldn't do that. In any case, I think a standard Pegasus or an Infinity Run, for example, are probably going to deliver more miles for your cash. You're probably better off going for one of those rather than a VAPORFLY or an AlphaFly of value is the key thing that you want. I'm not sure a £270 or Earth credit AlphaFly will supply value to everybody. It certainly hasn't for me. The AlphaFly 2 just, yeah, I don't even want to think about that. I'm not sure anyone's going to want that shoe if I was going to sell it to them now. It's pretty grey now rather than white. 270 quid, I ran 100 miles in it. Do the maths. Did I get that much enjoyment from it? Actually, no, I did not. I think I paid 120 for these when they came out, and it was some sort of deal, some sort of discount, and I've had far more enjoyment running in these than I did the AlphaFly 2. I've collected and traded a huge number of guitars over the years since I started playing. Yes, if you look after them, they are infinitely more durable than a running shoe. Nobody I know is going to want to use a running shoe that I've used for the last 20 years. I've worn it for hundreds of races or gigs. That said, an expensive guitar isn't needed by everybody, is it? I mean, if you're playing them a huge amount, you're gigging them most weeks, then it's probably a worthy inclusion into your collection. I think the comparison continues when you start thinking about running shoes that you might use on a daily basis. There's certain models that are just a little bit more usable. You can pick them off of the shelf and utilize them pretty much every day, and you haven't got that worry that it's gonna wear down or get damaged. I mean, you can grab your high-end Gibson and play that in the morning before you go to work, jam out some riffs. Playing that might be infinitely more enjoyable though than just some poorly set up cheaper guitar. What I'm trying to say is, can we measure value on the enjoyment that we're actually getting from that item? The difference here is that the price between a very low-end guitar and a very high-end guitar is much greater in terms of range than that for a cheaper shoe or a more expensive shoe. I mean, you've got about double the price between a Pegasus 39 and a VAPORFLY. An Epiphone SG is about £400 against a Gibson SG that's about 1,500. Kind of look the same, but they actually play quite differently, and they sound differently as well, which is the key factor here. There do seem to be more returns overall for Nike shoes recently. Things like the VAPORFLY and the AlphaFly get returned a huge amount. A lot of those end up back in like outlet stores where Nike can't really do an awful lot with them, just get rid of them for whatever price they can get. Perhaps even the Tempo Next Percent and the Invincible Run as well. Both of those seem to really suffer from some durability issues. Can we base value in terms of the durability and longevity we might get from a product? I think that sometimes Nike products don't always make for the most durable offerings, and that does lower that value for money a little bit more, especially considering that Nike products tend to cost a bit more. All I know is that a VAPORFLY model at 100 miles is going to show more wear, there's going to be more abrasion there than an ADIDAS Lightstrike Pro model at the same number of miles. Just don't seem to get the same amount of wear on Lightstrike Pro or Power Run PB, for example, as you do with Zoom X. What about like GPS running watches and things like that? I mean, they're infinitely more costly. I mean, they can be up to thousands in terms of price. It's not something you're going to be buying sort of every month. Maybe you're only going to buy one every 3 or 4 years. Battery life seems to be the key issue there. The watch carries on working, but the battery starts to diminish in terms of its ability to hold a charge, though it does look like that is improving with the great strides in battery technology over the last couple of years. Let's not forget though, these devices can be used every single day. They're perhaps even useful when you're not running, when you're just going about your daily activities. I mean, if a watch gives you loads of metrics, it gives you a really accurate GPS trace, but it costs you £600, yet you're going to use it over about 3 or 4 years. Is that better value? Maybe it will last even longer than that. You could even sell it on to somebody after that and get back some of your money. There's a raft of really good watches between that £200 and £300 price these days. I mean, they do almost anything you could possibly want as a runner. If that lasts 3 or 4 years, and I think that's actually pretty good value. Especially if you're getting the most out of the watch using loads and loads of the other features that you get built into these things these days. I don't think we can moan too much about the value for money we will get from a running watch around about that price. I do think it is a little bit down to the actual person making the purchase. There might be something you particularly enjoy or get enjoyment from. I mean, if it's going to last you a number of years, or it's going to last you a whole year of training, for example, then it could represent some good value for money. But I do think a lot of these running shoes right now are wickedly overpriced. What have been the poorest and the best value for money items that you've picked up over the last year? Is there a shoe that just refuses to die? Have there been others that have just capitulated within a few weeks? Let the runners and I know down in the comments. Musical interlude time. Around about this time of year, you've always got to dig out the fantastic Christmas tunes that are around. There's some fantastic rock and roll versions of some of those famous tracks. Brian Setzer there is right up there. He's done loads of different interpretations of famous Christmas standards. One of those is Angels We Have Heard on High. You can check this one out on his album Christmas Rocks, which has many fantastic festive tunes for you. The reason I love this one so much, it really grabs every single element of Christmas you can think of. It's right up here in terms of that excitement, yet it can bring you right down here too when you get a little sentimental, remembering people that are long gone. There's some fantastic guitar tones here as well. Setzer manages to coax these wonderful, glassy yet warm sounds from that Gretsch of his. The choir on this one is absolutely mind-blowing as well. Go and check it out, people. Angels We Have Heard on High by the Brian Setzer Orchestra. Thanks for tuning in. It is always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button. Also click the bell below for notifications when we launch the new videos for you. Hit us up with a super thanks if you've been enjoying the content recently. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you